Welcome to the Megan Clare Show. I'm a breast cancer survivor, patient advocate, and your host, Megan Clare Chase. And I know I look a little different today because the chemo curls are blown straight. Now, I'm working with Ancora.ai to help share their mission, is to give unbiased and comprehensive information for patients to empower and bring vetted trial options for all patients. Now, I am beyond excited about our guest today because I am talking to Danielle Ralic. Did I say your last name right?
It goes like 5 different flavors. That's good.
Well, Danielle is the founder and CEO of Ancora.ai. What? So before we get into why Ancora.ai was started, let me give you a little bit of the background of our brilliant and innovative CEO. Danielle is from Boston and went to Boston University, where she majored in information systems with a focus on healthcare IT. She's worked at Deloitte and ZS. Impressive, right? Lived in LA and Switzerland, and she's coming to you today from Croatia, where her parents are from. So she saw the future of healthcare at an MIT conference, and it sparked an idea. So let's talk about that. Danielle, tell us, what is Ancora AI and why did you choose that name?
Oh yeah, name was a tough one. I guess it all started with wanting to help people, but through what I'm good at, which is more technology, to be totally transparent. And as you were mentioning back with MIT, they're doing amazing things in technology, and people are really investigating really awesome use cases of how do we take kind of this growing field of tech and make healthcare better. It's just healthcare, as I'm sure everyone would agree, is a little slow to adopt some of these technologies. So I was on the quote sidelines, kind of working with hospitals and pharmaceutical companies, and always trying to push things forward and looking at technology and how can we really use it to impact healthcare. But I had a crazy idea that maybe I could do it a little bit faster outside of that world. And for background, I mean, I don't come from a family that is in medicine. So when I started working in healthcare, a lot of the terms are new for me. Google was a fantastic resource, or old like biology books, like, oh yeah, that's what that is. These are cells. Okay. So I really came at it from beginning with very little knowledge, and slowly over time kind of learning how healthcare works and what are all the cool acronyms that you can use. So I'd say I gained insight into the world of healthcare that I don't think a lot of people have. And as you mentioned, my parents, my family, they're from Croatia, and so I mean they also aren't very familiar with healthcare. And as we've talked about, where things happen in the family, and I'll help look into whatever diseases or conditions that are happening. And I'm trying to have those conversations with my family and tell them about things like clinical trials, which then I'll get the standard answer of like, I'm not a guinea pig and blah blah blah,
Right.
or whatever videos found on YouTube or something. So I was facing it a lot in my private life, where I realized just people don't have access to that information, and there isn't really a patient education. And I know in a beautiful world we would never have to worry about it, and this is only the problem of doctors and we can just be blissfully ignorant and treated. But unfortunately healthcare isn't perfect yet, and that's where the burden is kind of on patients' shoulders and those caregivers supporting them to help really make sure that we are getting the best care that we can for ourselves or for our loved ones. So it's hopefully a temporary reality that we're in. But that's where with Ancora, we really saw the opportunity to help people access this side of healthcare, which again, I only fell into by pure accident. And when I heard about trials, remember at the time it was in oncology, it was for breast cancer. and I had lost a few family and friends already to the awful disease. And listening to these clinical trials, I'm like, why do people not know about this? Like,
Right.
oh my God, like immunotherapy, CAR T therapy, amazing, amazing things happening. And everyone I knew was just like chemo, chemo through the line, and no one had considered trials. So that's where, with looking at technology and technology's progression with natural language processing and things like that, is kind of the perfect case of, okay, can we put technology to this crazy problem and world of research and see if we can help patients? Because again, unfortunately, you might not always hear about trials from your doctor, but there could be an awesome option for you, and you should know about it. So that's how we sort of got together and started thinking about Ancora.ai. And I said, I'm only the technology founder, so definitely takes a village to figure out something like this. So I'm super lucky that the rest of the team is science heavy and has that kind of background. So we work together nicely like that, very different. And that was kind of how Ancora was born. And my, I guess, pivoting moment was when I was out hiking and I met a man who asked me to take his photo. And when I took his photo, we were talking and he asked about what I was doing. And I mentioned PD-L1 inhibitors. And his reaction was like, girl, you're talking my language. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, you're an oncologist. That's amazing. It's like, no, no, no. I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor. And I was like, that's absolutely amazing. How are, like, sorry to ask this, but how are you doing this? Like scaling this crazy mountain. And he said he was on one of the first CAR T therapy trials. And I asked him, it's like, how did you happen to know this? Because I only found it again by accident. And it
Right.
was his wife's friends, cousins, uncles, friend who happened to be like an MSK. So just a random set of chance that he happened to find a life-saving treatment. And that was one of those moments where it's like, God damn, we gotta fix this.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of background of crazy world of Ancora. It took us quite a bit to get started because of the technology and the data behind it. And we really wanted to see kind of what was the best way to tackle it. The world clinical research, the language is really difficult and it's usually shorthand, which doesn't help when you try to do things like AI on it. But we learned a great deal through that progress, and we finally launched in March, which was fantastic. And the name took us probably 2 months to figure out, which is really embarrassing because I guess we should be faster. Thankfully, all my pets were already named, so I didn't have to go through this process before. But it's difficult, and we finally got to Ancora because of the background of the word, which is about kind of another or a new chance, new hope. And it also has the symbolism is kind of an anchor as well. And we wanted to flip kind of clinical research, which is usually like, let's just test this and get evidence. We're like, actually, this is an opportunity to try new treatments and to move medicine forward. Like we should think of this as a way to move forward and to give that hope again. And that's what we wanted the name to convey.
Absolutely. I love that, a new hope and to move forward, because as a cancer survivor, I never even heard about clinical trials as possibly being an option, either to my treatment or in addition to my treatment. So I have just been really thankful that I even found Ancora AI, because I have been searching for trials. And what's so great about this is how easy it is to put in your information and where you are, and it pulls these trials and gives this great detailed information that someone like me who doesn't have a science background can understand. So that's huge. That's huge. So what's your vision for this company as it continues to grow?
Great question. We're really hoping that we can add more indications that we're supporting. So we started with solid tumors, and my great hope is that we can do some partnerships and collaborations with genetic testing companies, because there's so much going on there, and in oncology especially, they're really looking at targeted treatments. And so if we can better collaborate with them, I think we would have amazing opportunities for patients, and we could find amazing treatments. So that's one of my immediate goals. And the second is that we can continue with Ancora.ai to help people through the trial process. So just one example is there are benefits on trials in terms of like help with logistics or even travel assistance. And it's not always known what's available with the trial until you really like call and go through quite a bit of research with them. So I think those are some things we want to better surface, because those are really important information, yeah. Which, I mean, when I hear about parking bills at hospitals, I'm just like, oh my God. So,
right? I know.
Yeah, like that's a whole other, I want to talk to somebody about that at some point. That's another conversation. Yeah, so I mean, those are ways, it's like there's a lot of information out there. There just hasn't been a great way to put it all together, and especially in the perspective of helping the people who need to have it the most, and is the people participating in the trials. And unfortunately today, it's not really people first. It's more of, okay, we need to get evidence, and now let's work backwards from that. And we're hoping we can change that conversation to make it like, no, we're working on people's lives. So we're starting here. And now let's figure out what we need to investigate.
I just love like seeing the passion that just shows on your face, and you hear it in your voice that you really, really care. And I think that's what the cancer community, needs to see and hear, is that there are people that are fighting to make sure that we are heard, and to make sure that we can, get every option and know about every option that is available to us, because at the end of the day, this is our life. Like, we matter. And with Ancora.ai, you're making sure that it is known that patients matter and deserve to hear about these vetted options.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up, Danielle, do you have any last words for our audience?
Oof. A lot of words, but I would just say, I mean, feel absolutely empowered, do your research. I think one of the most heartbreaking things that I hear is, oh, my doctor said this, so that's what I have to do. And people, I think a lot of times in your gut, you can also kind of feel like, is this really it? Or I'm not so convinced. And I'm hoping that the tools like Ancora, and there are so many other amazing organizations and tools out there as well, so many great resources, that we can help also make sure that patients are standing very strong, and people are standing strong and kind of defending themselves and supporting their care that way. So I hope that Ancora can do that for anyone. And of course, if anyone has any ideas or feedback, like, please call me. I can talk a lot, but we can also be faster, I don't know, or email. But I'd love to get in touch, and it's going to take a village. But I think once we have enough people marching towards this, that's when we can make a real change. So I'm super excited about it.
Absolutely. Aren't y'all excited, audience? Yes. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I mean, what a thrill to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So make sure to check out all the resources about clinical trial information at Ancora.ai. And if you have, any specific questions, especially with what Danielle was saying today, you can email her at Danielle@Ancora.ai. And follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and make sure to subscribe to our channel here. Well, I'm Megan Claire Chase. And remember, the more you know, the more empowered you will be.